Hello, seminary community. I want to thank you for all of your responses to my question, what does sheltering in place mean to you? I heard back from 21 of you representing all the different sectors of our community. I heard from weekday students, weekend students, doctoral students, faculty, adjunct faculty, and staff. It was wonderful. Thank you for replying. And I was very moved by your responses. I found your humor fun to hear, your fortitude in times of difficulty, and also the beneficial times that you have had sheltering in place. So now I would like to share these comments with you, and I ask you to join me in honoring all of you who have responded. So the first group of responses indicate people who actually benefit in some way by this imposed circumstance that they did not welcome. They learned something new that they might not have learned otherwise. Here's what you said. Sheltering in place is a pause in daily life. It has allowed me the pause that I needed to pray more frequently and connect deeper with God in community with a variety of people and places from the comfort of my home. It offers me an opportunity to pause, breathe deeply, and reevaluate my priorities. It's a time to ask the question, what is the Holy Spirit telling me I need to be doing? It is an opportunity to practice the spiritual discipline of waiting. It's been an active challenge to stop seeking the excitement and the tasks and the work beyond, and to recognize the plethora and abundance of beauty in my immediate area between my kids at play and sharing more quality experiences. It has been about slowing down the pace of life. My wife and I have recognized with this slower pace that each of us had become morbidly busy. Daily, Mary Ellen and I try to exercise. She Zoom yoga and I 1 mile walks. And Sundays and some weekdays, we join our local congregation for Zoom worship, which has been surprisingly meaningful. It has brought my family closer together. With parents in their mid-80s, it has given me and my siblings time with our parents that we probably would not have had. Just teaching your parents how to use Zoom is a story within itself. Basically, our time together is sharing stories, lots of laughter, and we have been sending special food packages to each other as a fun way to say, love you. Sheltering in place has become a time of joy-filled quiet, a time for doing little online work, time of reading and crafting, a time of sharing conversations and games online with my children, talking to them more regularly than I usually have time for, a time of gentle walks with my husband, a time of watching the early spring flowers give way to the next wave of colorful blooming, a time to give thanks that we are so blessed even now, and that there are good things happening in the midst of the sad and challenging things. This by far was the largest category of responses, finding something helpful or even beneficial in sheltering in place. And the next group of responses really emphasized the challenge of this time. One person said, sheltering in place is not seeing or helping my mom, who's stuck in her apartment in LA all by herself. This person added to me that he's concerned that his mother is isolated and he calls her every day. Another response, struggling through the hard times to focus on rediscovering and developing my true passion. And he adds to that, and despite everything, enjoying the moments. A few others named an insight or self-knowledge that became possible because they were sheltering in place. One person said, "It's an opportunity to realize things we didn't know we didn't need. It's realizing I have more than enough right where I am. It has opened my eyes to see how dependent I am upon interaction with others as a way to understand myself better. This is a typical extrovert response to such circumstances, perhaps, but I must say it's been disconcerting." A few emphasize the quality of protection through the discipline of sheltering in place. It means restricting my travel and activities outside my house to better protect my neighbor and my family. It requires staying at home, wearing gloves and a mask when going out for things of necessity. Honoring and respecting a mandate for social distance that is designed to keep me safe. Nonetheless, it has become a restriction that has changed the way I connect and interact with loved ones and the world around me. And a doctoral student who's head of a chaplaincy department at a hospital said, "Greater safety for my patients, family, staff, and me, alongside decreased trauma for all of us due to being overwhelmed with increased and dangerous patient care and deaths." And finally, there was a comment that stopped me in my tracks. It was this: church pastors and poor people do not have that luxury. Meaning, church pastors and poor people don't have the luxury of sheltering in place. And I assume that is because pastors are busy and needed, and I'm concerned about that. It also means that some people don't have shelter, and some people have to continue to work, possibly in service sector jobs, in order to keep alive. This whole crisis has exposed the inequities that we find intolerable, and yet we pass them on from one generation to the next. So I hope you feel enriched, as I have, by the meanings that you have in sheltering in place. For me, sheltering in place has been an interruption in the final months when I'm your president, and I regret that. I miss seeing you, and I miss being together. And I do trust God to bring resurrection to the death-dealing forces that we are living with. I believe resurrection will triumph over death, and that someday we will be safe with God.